What if someone knocked on your door at 3 a.m.? Two small children asking to come inside, and you could feel something was horribly wrong. My name is Michael Reynolds. I live with my wife and daughter in a quiet neighborhood in Colorado Springs. Nothing ever happens here. At least, that's what we believed. It was March 14th, 2024. I had just finished a late shift and was checking the security cameras before sleeping. At exactly 3:07 a.m., the doorbell rang. Two children were standing on our porch, a boy around 10 and a girl maybe 7 or 8, both wearing pajamas, no coats even though it was freezing outside. They looked up directly at the camera. The boy spoke politely. "Can we please come inside? We're very cold." My wife woke up and asked who it was. I told her it was probably just neighborhood kids playing a prank, but something felt off. Their eyes, they were completely black. No whites, just solid black. I told them through the intercom to go home. The little girl smiled sweetly and said, "But we don't have anywhere else to go. Please let us in. We promise we'll be good." I didn't open the door. Instead, I watched them on the camera for the next 47 minutes. They never moved. They just stood there, staring at the door, smiling the entire time. At 3:54 a.m., the boy finally spoke again. "Thank you for being so kind, Mr. Reynolds. We'll come back tomorrow night." Then they turned and walked into the darkness. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. The next night, they came back. Same two children, same pajamas, same black eyes. They stood on the porch again, looking straight into the camera. The boy spoke politely, like nothing had happened the previous night. "Can we please come inside, Mr. Reynolds? It's very cold tonight." My wife Sarah was standing behind me, holding our 4-year-old daughter tightly. She whispered, "Don't answer it." We didn't. The children didn't leave. They stood there for 43 minutes, smiling the whole time, never blinking. At 3:50 a.m., the little girl spoke softly. "We really like your daughter. She looks kind. Can we play with her?" That was the first time I felt real fear. I turned off the porch light. I closed all the curtains. We slept in the living room with the lights on. But they kept coming, night after night. Always the same polite request, "Can we come inside?" On the 4th night, something changed. We heard scratching at the back door, then at the windows, then at the roof. My daughter woke up crying, saying a boy and girl were calling her name from outside her window. We checked the cameras. The two children were standing in the backyard, looking up at my daughter's window, smiling. That was the night my wife asked me the question I couldn't answer. "Michael, what if they never stop coming?" I didn't know what to say, because deep down, I was starting to believe they wouldn't. The next morning, I found a small drawing on our porch. It was a crayon drawing of our house, our family standing outside, and two small black-eyed children holding hands with our daughter. Written below in childish handwriting, "We can all be friends forever." By the 5th night, we were barely sleeping. We had moved our daughter's bed into our room. We kept all the lights on. We even pushed the couch against the front door. But they still came. The two children were standing on the porch again, soaking wet from the rain, but they weren't shivering. The boy looked straight into the camera and said calmly, "We've been waiting for you to invite us in, Mr. Reynolds. We're getting cold." My wife started crying silently. Then the little girl spoke. Her voice was sweet, but her black eyes didn't blink once. "Can your daughter come out and play? We promise we'll be gentle." That was when I noticed something new. They were no longer standing on the porch steps. They were standing inside the covered porch area, closer than they had ever been before. I checked the previous night's footage. Every night they had taken one small step closer to the door. Tonight, they were only 6 feet away. At 3:41 a.m., the power went out in the entire house, complete darkness. We heard soft knocking on the living room window, then on the bedroom window, then on the roof. My daughter whispered in terror, "Daddy, they're calling my name." I grabbed my gun and stood in front of my family. The knocking stopped. For 30 seconds, there was silence. Then came the softest voice right outside the front door. "Please let us in. We just want to be friends." I never opened the door, but the next morning, we found small wet footprints on the porch. They stopped right at the doorstep. Written in the condensation on the living room window from the outside, "See you tomorrow night." We moved out 2 days later. We left everything behind. But last week, my wife received a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single photo taken from outside our new apartment window. It showed our daughter sleeping peacefully in her bed. Standing right beside her bed were 2 small figures with completely black eyes, smiling. We lasted 6 more nights. On the 7th night, they stopped asking. The camera shows the porch empty. Then 2 small figures slowly walk into frame. No umbrella, rain pouring on them. They stand directly in front of the door. The boy looked up at the camera and smiled. He didn't knock. He simply said, "We don't need permission anymore." The front door handle slowly turns by itself. My wife screamed. I grabbed my daughter and ran to the back door, but they were already inside. We never saw them walk through the door. One moment the house was empty. The next, they were standing in our living room, dripping wet, black eyes reflecting the light. The little girl looked at my daughter and said softly, "Can we play now?" I fired 3 shots. All of them went through the children and hit the wall behind. They didn't flinch. The boy tilted his head and whispered, "You can't hurt what's already dead." My wife grabbed our daughter and ran upstairs. I stayed. I tried to fight. I tried to protect them. When the camera comes back on, the house is silent. My wife and daughter are gone. Only I remain. I'm sitting on the couch holding the camera. My hands are shaking. The 2 children are sitting on either side of me, smiling. The boy leans in close and whispers, "Thank you for letting us in, Mr. Reynolds." I never opened the door, but they got in anyway. If this story made you afraid to answer the door at night, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.